Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, streaming January 25th, only on Netflix.
This is Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. My guest today is Joan Sanger, who is someone I've known probably for 40 years because I know very well your brother, Philip, his wife, Bea, your mom, who is a spry 104.
Yes, she is.
But you were always the little sister, and you were off doing amazing things. And so I really don't know that much about you. That's why I'm so excited to have the chance to talk to Joan, who you're described as a social entrepreneur. First of all, what's a social entrepreneur?
Someone who probably has not that much business sense. I've done a lot of work. I do ethics work for governments, and I've created a website for people, even if they don't read, in English or Spanish, to do all of their career development or business startup online. I have not been very good at marketing that because I'm easily bored, so I move on to the next thing. So I'm now working with a larger company to see, and I think they'll start marketing it. And then,
I'm sure there's a need for that.
Oh,
Folks
it is huge. Yeah. In Waco, when Virginia Dupuy was the mayor, it was estimated that over 70% of the people that walk into the workforce center aren't functional to be able to read websites. That doesn't mean digitally functional. It means literally the literary level of them. Yeah. And also the other thing I did was this social commentary photography show that was just in Waco. It just closed. And it is juxtaposing mannequins with people on gadgets, and that's also a social message.
Funny, you should mention that. Here it is. Whose Reality Is It? By Joan Sanger. And it is just an amazing book. And you say you kind of did this for fun, right?
It is for fun. That's the whole social entrepreneur. I dream up ideas of things that I think are socially engaging. Some of them make money. Some of them don't.
Okay. So, for example, we got a mannequin.
Yeah.
A dude in his skivvies. And then another mannequin, not dressed up like you would think to sell clothes, but
that's the other thing. It always amazes me how
What's
people
the
think.
Of this?
Yeah, how do people think this is going to make me want to buy this thing?
This hat or whatever it is. Yeah. And then there's a skeleton even with the.
I travel a lot, and again, since I told you I'm easily bored. When my husband's still at the dinner table waiting for the next course of food, wherever we are, I walk around. I used to carry my camera. Now I just carry my phone.
Oh, these are amazing.
Most of those pictures are taken off a phone, and they were blown up for the show here and one that I had in Canada to probably, 4 feet by 6 feet, and they still looked okay.
They're amazing.
I know.
Quality.
I know. So I've got to figure out what to do with my camera that I don't use.
You probably spent a lot of money on.
Yeah.
Another book that you've written, Growing Up Waco.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this. It's a semi-fictionalized stories by Joan Sanger. So
yes.
So it's sort of true. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, protecting the not so innocent.
Well, I mean, I'm just glancing at your back cover. To be born and raised in Waco is a ticket for a ringside seat to some rather unusual events. You think?
Yeah. And it never stops.
Exactly. It never stops.
No,
it never stops. But this is, and again, this was, one title of a caught my attention. No Sex in the City. Does that have something to do with the religious atmosphere of the town?
A little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You'll have to read it.
I'm really, truly looking forward to this. And this was something you did last year. I mean,
I did, but it's going to be out on Amazon starting in a week or two from now, which is early March. It was supposed to be out earlier. I actually substituted one of these stories recently, and I was juxtaposing, again, I won't mention names, someone in their hundreds, you might guess, and someone close to 100 who I've met in Santa Barbara, who was the wife of a very famous person from Waco that no one here knows anything about, who established the big hospital in Santa Barbara. And so I'm juxtaposing the two of them in their riding of the interurban train.
I was just talking to my producer here, Mike Hamilton. He goes, he wasn't aware what the interurban was. And
so amazing.
I know. It really... And I know of it, obviously, I remember growing up and close to Dean Highland Elementary, you could still see the tracks.
Yeah.
In part of and I would ask my mother, she goes, oh, that was from the interurban.
And I think one of the cars, I don't know, but I read, is actually been restored, and it's in downtown Waxahachie.
I might have to go do a trip.
I want to go see that.
And go check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because what the interurban was, it was public transportation, and it was long distance. Really wasn't just within town.
No. It started in, I think, Sherman to Dallas, then Dallas to Waco, Dallas to Waxahachie. I can't remember where else, but the brilliance of it in terms of a business model was that it was really done by the guy who owned the utility lines, the electrical utility lines, and he wanted a way to get that amortized, I guess you would say. So he ran these trains, and they even had fancy cars on them. But the juxtaposition has to do with if you were a black child and you were riding the train, you had to sit in the car with the porters in the kitchen area. And whereas the other person who was white never even realized that. So their experiences were so different, yet also you look at what they both became. And my point of all that is what's really a disadvantage. The person who seemed to be disadvantaged ended up being kind of a rock star in terms of her profession because she was challenged at many levels that most of us aren't.
Interesting way to look at that.
I wouldn't say most of us, but some of us aren't.
Right. Your photography, though, you've got like almost 1,000 pictures at the Texas collection at Baylor. And this was through a project that you had gotten a grant through the Waco Foundation for. Let's talk about that, what all that was.
Well, this is going to really age me. That was in 1977. Okay. And I thought I would never get this. I just made up a grant.
Did you really?
I did. And it went to the Waco Foundation, Cooper Foundation, Waco Foundation. Right. And that was when Jerry Cartwright was in charge. And they gave it to me. And I didn't do all 900. They're 900, a little over 900. And Myron Wood, who is a pretty well-known photographer from Colorado Springs, who I took a photography class under my junior year in college, he did it with me. And so he and I would photograph together, say a month out of the year, and then I would go into my uncle's darkroom and print, and then he would go back to Colorado. Oh, black and white, old school, your hands in chemicals. It was fun, though.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Yeah. Well, what were you documenting? What did you...
Well, my mother says that everyone would think all that was in Waco are cemeteries, churches, and old black people. So those seem to be my themes that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And old people in general.
Yeah.
So I photographed a lot of just people on the streets, people I met, old houses, but things that, interestingly now, I hate to say, a lot of them are gone. I'm quite surprised. So I'm really glad that I did that.
Oh,
and
yes.
I wish we did that in every city every year because things get torn down.
They do. Thankfully, we have had a strong historic Waco Foundation that has managed to save.
But those are the major houses. A lot of the ones
these are like just the ordinary bungalows that people...
Some of them, not so ordinary. Some of them were quite beautiful. And they're gone.
Yeah.
And some of the old honky tonks and, these down-homey places that were run by families.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that part of a book, or is it just...
No, it's at the Texas Collection.
So you say you go to the Texas Collection. If I were wanting to go see some of these, do I ask for the Sanger collection, or what? What is that?
No, because that's something different, actually. You just ask for the Myron Wood and Joan Sanger photography collection. The Sanger collection's an archive. But I believe, I don't know if they still do, they actually reprinted them and had a big show around the Texas Collection. I don't know if that's still there. But the show was originally at the Art Gallery, the Art Center in Waco. And that was just some of the photos. And then the collection itself, which are 8x10 photos, are archived there.
Mm-hmm. Now, and you recently had something at Cultivate 712, right?
Yeah, I did.
Tell me about that.
Well, that was the silly one that had to do with the book.
Okay.
That's
that's your mannequins?
Yeah, it's more than mannequins, though, because I have so many photographs now. It's no longer something unusual. So many photographs of people on gadgets in inappropriate situations.
You mean like these?
Yeah. Exactly those. And some of them are really funny. And so I have like 75 or 80 rolling pictures of those. Those are just on a video. The mannequins are all large prints, but then interspersed in there are the people on gadgets. And the whole idea is who's really having more fun.
Well, really. Yeah, but I mean, you've just always got your eyes open. You're just aware and curious, like a journalist in a way. I mean, for what
but
you're
documenting. Without the self-discipline, yes.
Oh, I didn't know there was any self-discipline involved. That's funny. Well, I do want to talk to you more about some of your experiences in the past, and we will do that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more with Joan Sanger about some of the famous folks she's worked with, so you stay with us.
Frozen, heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Mike.
And we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros Foes Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hi, this is Sarah.
And I'm Carter.
And this is Some of Our Thoughts.
We're two Southern sommeliers, and we want to share everything we love and know about wine. We started hanging out during quarantine and cooking and drinking and listening to music, and we just thought this would be a great way to bring everything we know to you guys.
We will make wine knowledge and food pairings easy and approachable. So put on your favorite vinyl, grab your favorite glass of wine, tune into our show, and let's have some fun.
Wine and vinyl. So check us out on roguemedianetwork.com or wherever you get your favorite podcast. We'll be talking about a lot.
Hey y'all, I'm April,
Hi, I'm Caroline.
and we have a new podcast for you. What's it called, Caroline?
Bloody Happy Hour.
It's going to be your new favorite guilty pleasure. We're going to talk about some bloody stuff. Serial killers, true crime,
Rape.
rapists. Why not join us? We'll have a good time.
You literally never know. I don't know what I'm going to say. Bloody Happy Hour. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And I'm back with Joan Sanger, who is a social entrepreneur, but she says she's just bored easily, so
Yeah.
that's why. She's busy. You are here in Waco, though. Your mom is a spry 104.
Yes.
Just incredible.
Yes.
But has some health issues from time to time, and you come in to.
Not much.
But yeah, I mean, she's incredible. She's incredible.
She's never been on medication, and she just had COVID, and that's why I came in. And that was about a month ago. She's fine. She's been fine for a couple of weeks.
Just got over it. Now she's got all the immunities from COVID. So
Yeah, she said she thought she was going to die, and then I came in, and then she didn't.
no.
So I told her it's something she's really bad at. She's good at most things.
What was it you said? You don't say when you die, but if.
Yeah. I said, if you die.
If you die. Well, she's got some pretty remarkable genes. I mean, her brother lived to 100. I mean, you got some pretty good genes in there.
It's
Joan
also in that
Sanger.
neighborhood. It's weird. There's
Okay,
this
tell me
whole
about it. So, kind of in a part of
Waco,
Northwest
off
Waco.
of MacArthur. So her neighbor lived to be 106. Her neighbor behind her lived to be 100. She just passed away. The man across from them, who was jumping on from his walker to his riding lawnmower and riding all of everyone's lawns just to be sweet and mow them.
Just mow everybody.
Except it was also their sprinkler systems. That was a bit of an issue.
Oh, well.
And he's 97. My uncle was 100.
And he lived next door.
Right.
She took care of him.
Yeah. And not next door,
yeah.
but a few doors down. And then, I'm sorry, the man behind her also died a couple of years ago. He was 99. So
Wow.
I don't know what's going on. You know what? A friend of mine had a really interesting theory about that. Now I forgot exactly what it was. But that there was something that was happening at Fort MacArthur that she thinks maybe got into the soil there. I can't remember what she said it was, but that was really good for you as
Apparently.
opposed to bad. Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember what she said.
That's true, but that is where.
It's right where it was.
Where it was, that part of Waco. Well, she's darling, and I know she's always happy to see you. But Joan, you do kind of live a jet setter lifestyle. I mean, you live in Ontario,
Extremely non-glamorous jet setter lifestyle. Thank you.
but you're traveling a lot. So,
I
but
do
you
travel.
live in Canada and also in California. Is that right?
Yeah.
So explain to me about
Well,
that.
I spent 27 winters in Canada and vowed that was never going to happen again.
that was enough.
It was a wonderful place to raise kids, for sure. I have 2 boys. But then we had gone to Santa Barbara on our vacations.
That's a beautiful place.
Yeah. So we're like, okay. So we found this little tiny adorable place. It's 100 years old, but it has an avocado tree, my most important reason for buying it. And it overlooks the ocean and the town. It's the smallest house there. I mean, where it is. By far, it looks like someone's shed, but it's so cute. So it's not glamorous, but it's very sweet.
Yeah. And so your husband, where is he?
He's currently in Santa Barbara.
He's in Santa Barbara. Okay.
He doesn't really come to Waco quite as often as I do.
Yeah,
He's not as enamored with it as I am.
I imagine that's true. So let's get back to the early days. I mean, you went to college at Wellesley.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think you have a comment on here about that. Let's see. Yeah, I lots of stories I semi-fictionalize here occurred before I was forlornly sent away to become cultured at Wellesley.
It didn't take.
Well, that sounds pretty fancy, though. Wellesley. But you got your Wellesley. And you say didn't take, and then got your law degree from UT. So that from that point on, you began doing some political work. So let's start. There were some very famous folks that you were in contact with. This was back in 1987 with
Chet Edwards.
Ann Richards, who
was actually Chet Edwards first.
Oh, first was with Chet Edwards?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then when did you start working for Ann Richards?
After I was working for Chet. I worked for Chet for 2 sessions, and we did such major reform. He was just amazing. He would always ask me, this is the most amazing man ever. He would say to me, okay, who are we going to make mad? And I would name them. And it was usually the utility companies, the insurance companies, the prison system, the doctors, whatever. Yeah. The big groups of big heavy hitter lobby groups.
Sure.
And then he'd look at me and go, is it the right thing to do? I'd say, yes. And he'd go, then we have to do it. And we literally won everything. And that had to do with a lot of
reforms, I guess.
Yeah, but it was kind of guerrilla marketing on my part with staff and senators. And Chet was very happy for me to do that. He was wonderful about that. It was so much fun. It really was fun.
Of course, he was, he served this district for a long time.
Right. He was state senator then, and then he was in Congress. The other thing we did was the entire high-tech package of Texas.
Right.
And that's kind of interesting because I've now started admitting how that happened.
Okay.
Because that's kind of really an ironic thing.
Okay. You ready to talk about it?
Yeah. It was a Robin Hood kind of thing. So it hadn't passed for 2 sessions. So I asked Chet, do I have permission to get it passed any way that I can? He goes, I guess. So what I did, I couldn't even use the computer very well. I was really a complete loser on that. So I cut and pasted a 1-sentence bill, the other bills all onto that, and wrote a proclamation by hand to the lieutenant governor why they all had to pass, each one of them, 11 of them, because this other bill passed. And we only had passed 1. So he just signed off on all of them. Now, sometimes these things come back to haunt you.
Oh, really?
Because look at what happened to Austin. I'm not sure that's a good thing ultimately, but I'm saying the irony of it is the high-tech package got passed in the least high-tech way, with tape,
I was going to say
scissors, tape, and my handwriting.
That's right. A little white out if you needed it.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize there's thousands of bills that get passed at the last day of the session.
Yes. No,
that aren't voted on.
Yeah, I know that is true.
And I didn't think any of these were harmful in any way, so I was very careful about that. But I think ultimately you don't, and part of my ethics seminars I teach now, you don't understand the ultimate consequences necessarily of what you're doing.
Right.
And I didn't think of, 30 years hence that it would make Austin unmanageable.
Well, you have to kind of have a crystal ball in a way, to be able to predict some of these things, but
yeah.
So Chet Edwards, of course, had an amazing, wonderful career, and Ann Richards. Tell me about Ann Wacoan.
And I propose
really Lacey Lakeview, I guess, is really
right. Well, and actually Abbott, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some cute stories about her and her dad and stuff. But anyway, I proposed the job to Chet, and I proposed the job to Ann. There were no job openings. I just went in and said, let me show you what I can do for a couple of weeks free, and if you like what I do, then I'll work for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I tried to earmark the 2 people that I thought were sensible and ethical and got stuff done. Mm-hmm. So I went to her and told her what all I could do. So she let me. The first week I was there, she wanted me to do, or I did do, an ethics seminar, sat in on them with the other staff members at the state treasury.
Good.
And not to mention any names, the person who was doing it had been indicted for bribery.
Probably a lesson they needed.
That was my feeling. But she thought the guy, because he got acquitted, that he was innocent. And I went into her and I said right after that, because I was doing issue work for her on tort issues, criminal justice issues, utility issues, I can't remember, a lot of stuff, human services. So I went into her and said, Ann, I know you don't know me very well, but that was a really confusing seminar to have someone who was indicted teach it. And I don't believe that what he said was exactly accurate. I think it confused people, and I think you need to have an ethics program.
Right.
And so she said, all right, you do it. She used to say. So I did.
Hear her saying that.
Yeah. And so I did, and she loved it. And I later parlayed that many, many years later into doing ethics work on my own for government, including a comedy ethics program, which was really fun.
How do you do that?
You get crazy people, and that's not hard in Austin. And so I got the Esther's Follies actors and Bob Eckhart, who you might remember, he was in Congress, and his first cousin, Helen Hanley, who had both been editors of what later became the Daily Texan. They were first cousins, like 1 year apart. So both completely creative people. So Bob did the cartooning and the drawing. Helen did the script, and the songs were designed by Standish Meacham, who was a songwriter and played the piano. So these are all of my creative people were over the age of 80, and they were all old-time Texans. So Helen Hanley and Bob are both descendants of the Clayburghs of the King Ranch. They're old-time, serious.
Long-time serious Texans. Yeah.
And they had, it was hard to control sometimes.
I'll bet.
And there's some really funny stories about that. And then Esther's Follies acted out. I was the straight man ethics teacher, and then the Esther's Follies were stereotypes of government workers.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of ad-libbing. It was fun.
Yeah. Lessons learned, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is this kind of thing still going on today? Are they still doing the ethics training?
It doesn't seem like it's very effective. But
might need to go and kind of retool their curriculum.
I don't even know what they're doing. Generally, ethics training is about compliance, and that never sticks. Yeah. It means nothing. Ethics is the gray areas, and it's what you're internalizing and inculcating as your being and how you act. And so it's hard to do that when you're talking about complying with the law. That's not very exciting, and it's not engaging. So what I try to do is engage people. I'll do another one at in a big city in Canada in about a month.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't done them for a while. They just called to ask me, and I've done some in Africa and the Middle East.
So you have traveled all over.
Yeah, that didn't take very well either, I don't think. But whatever.
Yeah, but it's important information. It's at least something people need to think about,
Yeah.
What is the right thing to do?
And Anne used to say, if my mama could read it on the front page and be proud of me, then it was okay. That's
very good. Yeah. I would tell kids when I would speak to school groups, with relation to these things.
Yes.
I said, if you wouldn't mind it broadcast from a television news desk, it's probably, okay. But just realize
what you're writing.
It's just about the same thing that everybody, and it's out there forever. It doesn't just.
Well, I had Professor Roberts from Baylor came and spoke at my photography show. And he's an expert on the impact of social media and gadgets on people. And one of the things that struck me that he said is that it's now one of the number one problems in relationships.
Oh, I don't doubt it. We're seeing with young people that they're not really dating anymore. They don't know how to even have those casual relationships that we took for granted when, go on a Coke date with somebody and see if you like them or whatever. They don't even know how to communicate.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary.
It's very scary, and it's scary in terms of their accountability to the world around them, and that includes the environment. If you didn't experience nature, and we're in a climate crisis, and we have to learn to live differently, how are you going to do that if you don't know what it is you're protecting? Yeah. Those kinds of things, and social response
stuff.
Really basic stuff. Yeah. I'm talking big picture stuff, but yes.
Yeah. No, for sure. Gosh, so much stuff to talk to you about. It's just been a fascinating career you've had. And I guess, is there any one thing that kind of sticks out that, that you're especially proud of kind of throughout? I mean, I know you also, when Ann Richards ran for governor, you wrote all but, I think, 3 of her issue statements, papers, which that's pretty remarkable because you were a young pup yourself.
I wasn't that young. I was younger than most of the people that were working on her campaign, for sure.
I bet you nickel you were the youngest one there.
Well, the issue at that point was Anne was nervous and a little hard on staff people, and they were scared to write them.
Yeah.
So I did.
So you did.
And it was a learning experience for me because a lot of things I didn't know that much about. She was literally a master debater, right? She won the national debate finals.
Yeah.
So she could talk about anything, even if she didn't know what she was talking about.
Yeah, she was good at that. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And usually she did know. She had a photographic memory. So I briefed her a lot on issues over years. And she would say to me sometimes, "That's not what you said a year ago." And then she would remember what I said. And I was like, "Did I say that?" Okay.
Okay. Well,
she was amazing in that way.
She was an amazing
But
leader.
something that stands out to answer your question, I don't even know how to answer that. Probably the ethics work, and still doing it and feeling like I really would like to do it more in other countries. I felt like that was my calling. Oh, I also taught at a university. I didn't mention that. I taught for 5 years at the University of Waterloo, but it was a very similar reason. I think I impacted those students. They let me design the class. They gave me a curriculum that was just the most boring thing in the world. And I said, I'm not going to teach that. If you let me design it, I will. And the kids loved it. And so that was also fun. I'd say that kind of thing where you feel like you've made an impact on an individual and encourage them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you certainly have done that. Well, we could just keep going on, but need to bring this to a conclusion. And I like to end these with a little questionnaire. It's similar to the one that the late, great James Lipton would use inside the Actors Studio. So it's kind of my take on his question. And the first one is, what is your favorite word?
Favorite word? God, I don't know. I don't know. I like names often. I like beautiful names like Francesca and just kind of beautiful Italian-sounding words that I've always loved Italian. I listen to Italian in my car and try to learn it, but it's so far. Other than waving my hands around, I can do that.
Yeah, that's right. You've got the driving part, right?
So I'd say anything that sounds Italian.
That's neat. That's very good. Well, what is your least favorite word?
It would usually be a 4-letter curse word.
Okay, there you go. All right. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Like I just mentioned, having an impact, especially on young people, and spending time with them to find out what their priorities are.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of my website. Like I serve different populations. I have 14 different programs on there for seniors and ex-incarcerated people and youth and a lot of people. And in English and Spanish and simple language. So to know that a person really, their life was changed by it. And a good example, in El Paso, there was a woman who had just crossed the border, had never seen a computer. And she was in tears because she could use it because it was reading to her and she could find a viable career path ultimately. To me, that's the best.
That's amazing. What turns you off then creatively or spiritually or emotionally?
Greed, critical behavior.
I've heard that before from guests for sure.
Negativity.
Yeah. What sound do you love the most besides Italian?
The harp.
Names? Oh, the harp, really? Oh, good.
We had a harpist play at my photography show. It was beautiful.
It is. It's so delicate, but sort of just heavenly, ephemeral. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ephemeral.
Yeah, beautiful. What sound do you hate?
Probably just really, really loud whistles. Like I like the sound of the train in Waco from my mother's house, which is 7-8 miles away.
It's a long way off.
For it to be right here where you are,
that's right.
That
yeah,
was just it's startling to me.
Well, but we're glad that if it alerts someone at
or the sound of someone being injured, or
oh yeah,
or a dog being injured.
Oh yeah. What you've done a lot of things in your life, but what other profession would you have liked to try or have done?
I don't think anything. I think I would have been, I went to school to be a lawyer, hence the ethics programs and such. I probably would have enjoyed teaching young kids. I love young kids, but I didn't really know that until I had them.
Yeah. Yeah, your boys are grown, I take it.
Yeah.
Any grands?
No.
No grands.
One of them just got finished traveling on a motorcycle through South America. He just came back last night.
Well, at least he's back. That's good.
Right. Oh, that's another story.
Yeah.
I forbade him from riding through Mexico and Central America right now. But anyway, so they flew them from Miami to Bogota. Anyway, they got down to the tip of South America
What
last
an exciting
week.
accomplishment.
So they just came. He's on his way back to actually work. And then the other one moved to Hawaii and started a business there. So I kind of taught them maybe to have too much fun.
I was going to say, those nuts didn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah, but I said, do what you're interested in and have fun. But maybe I took that a little too far.
They're having a lot of fun. They're having a lot of, well, what job do you know you would not want to do?
Well, I tried it, so I think I know. Veterinarian.
Oh, really?
I thought I would, but I can't stand to see an animal hurt. I passed out when my dog was getting her toenails clipped, so I'm really not for that job.
I was going to say.
I empathize.
Sometimes it gets a little too close and it bleeds. Oh.
I know. That's what happened.
I know. That's horrible.
There was a drop of blood, and I hit the floor.
Well, finally, what do you want to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
It was a good run, baby.
And it's not over yet.
No, it's not. I hope.
Yeah, I tell you what, Joan, it's just been a delight to have you here and to learn more about your incredible life, what all you have done and the people you've touched.
Thanks. I mean, there's a lot of downtime, too.
Well,
there's a lot
of course, with anybody. But yeah, you've just really accomplished so much. And so folks can, Growing Up Waco, we'll be able to get this on Amazon, right? And is whose reality is it? This is available as well? Or?
I didn't put that on Amazon. That was really just for the show here. They asked me, the gallery asked me to do it. I like that back cover.
Yeah.
It's so funny, the lady looking at the mannequin who has escaped from the store.
Who thinks of these things?
Who does think of these things?
Right, and then you photograph it, so that's what's great.
Well, let me tell you a quick one. So one of my favorite selfies, I have these pictures of these people all taking pictures of themselves and talking on their phones. My favorite one is a Saudi woman, completely covered, all you can see her eyes, and she's taking a selfie of herself on the Bosphorus. And I'm thinking, how would anyone know who that is? Because you can't see her. And I thought that was kind of at least entertaining.
Yeah, that's kind of poignant in a way.
Too. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of funny things of people taking pictures of themselves in really weird situations.
I guess that's true. She knows who she is.
She knows who she is.
I guess that's
And I'm sure she has a wonderful life, but whatever, it was funny.
Wow. Well, Joan, thank you again. It has just been a delight. And thank you for joining us on Central Texas Life. We'll see you again next time.
Central Texas Life with Ann Harder is part of the Rogue Media family. Be sure to check out our other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate this show 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Life with Ann Harder.